Okay, the first thing that I want to speak to you about this morning is bonus points. All right, all of you have acquired them. You have different amounts. Some of you cashed in your first quarter points. Some of you did not. You rolled them over and you're bringing them into this semester. I gave you a point total for last quarter. If you want to see your semester total, you can do that. Meet me after class and I'll show you. Who remembers what the bonus points are for? Why did I give you guys the opportunity to earn bonus points?
Hi, Liam. Oh, Robbie.
Wow.
Hey,
all right. Good job, guys. Okay, who remembers what the bonus points were all about and why I'm giving you bonus points? Bonus points. Bonus points. I'll give you a hint. Bonus points are a good thing. You can use them. Some of you right now are really, really busy, and I understand that. So you can cash in your bonus points. Let's say you have 62 bonus points, and you have a 100-point assignment due. You can do part of the assignment and say, I'm cashing in my, the rest of my points, and I'll give you 100 for it. Then you're out of bonus points. It's not like you just, get to keep reapplying your bonus points. It doesn't work that way. So communicate with me. You've earned the bonus points. You've earned the right to use the bonus points, and I want to let you use the bonus points. The only thing that I might caution you against, but it's your choice, I don't know if I would actually use the bonus points to excuse yourself from grammar, because those kind of build on each other. I would tend to think that if you're running short on a week, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but if you're running short on a week, it would probably be more important to do the grammar worksheets for many of you, because I'm still seeing some punctuation errors and the like. So anyways, okay, any questions about bonus points? No, good. All right, then, as we get started this morning, make sure that you have it handy. Last week's green week 14-15 assignment. Make sure you have the writer's right until it's right orange sheet. Make sure you have the white week 14-15 lecture outline. And this one you don't really need today, but make sure you have it. The yellow planning techniques. And if any of you are missing them, I brought along some extras. Because that's...
I think mine are at home.
You think yours are at home. All right.
I have... Oh, wait.
No, they're right there. Very good. That's fine. Okay. You really need, the one that you really need to follow along with is the orange one.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
And the green one. We'll refer to that one. And the orange one.
Thanks so much,
Yes. No. Okay, does anybody else need a handout? Any of the handouts? No. All right. Good deal. So, what are the 3 tasks that get repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over while writing an essay?
What?
Yes, I heard it right away, but I want to hear everybody say it.
Plan, write, transform.
Plan, write, transform. At every step of the writing process, what do you need to keep in mind? 2 things.
Focus and goal.
Good job. Focus and goal. All right. So, backing up to plan, write, transform. Tell me about plan. What does it mean to plan? What are some of the key words? What did you say? Think ahead. All right. And what might be another word that goes with think? Yes.
Structure.
Structure. Okay. You're thinking with structure. What about, is this a passive thing?
Yes. Active.
Active. It's active. You might wish it was passive. Yeah. Passive this morning. Okay. Active thinking, thinking with direction and purpose, and writing or typing while you're doing it. That helps you keep your focus. All right. Tell me about write. When we talk about the write process, what does it mean when you have to write? This is a deep philosophical question.
Yeah.
When it says write, what do you have to do?
You have to write whatever you plan there.
You have to write, okay? Will anybody else write for you?
Yes.
No.
Maybe if you have a broken arm and somebody else is typing, but the only person who can type, Betty and Zach, who's the only person who can type?
Mom.
You, that's right, you. Okay, then tell me about transform. You've done your planning, you've done your writing. What does transform mean? Once we get to transform, what's happening? Bridget?
You're proofreading, making the necessary changes until you got to where, until you have the step of the process you want to.
Exactly, okay? So transform is what you're gonna do until your goal is achieved. Okay, so you plan, you write, you transform. Things that are involved in transforming would be at different points of the game, revising, that's where you move chunks around, that's when you use copy and paste or cut and paste. Edit, that's when you're looking at grammar, you've got that grammar centurion behind you looking for grammar errors. And then proofreading, that's when you do your out loud reading to make sure that it all makes sense. Okay, tell me about focus. When we are referring to the focus that's involved with each step of the essay writing, what does that mean, focus? What are you using when you focus?
Your internal sense of discipline.
Your internal sense of discipline, I like that, using your internal sense of discipline. What else are you using?
Brain power.
Brain power, yes. Focus is all about the brain power, all right? And then the goal has to do with what? Goal isn't just thinking, goal is when you're achieving it because you're using
That's not the ball.
your,
Mind.
Your hands.
you're using your hands. That's when you're typing, that's when you're writing, that's where you're getting your goal, okay? So focus is attention on this, mental power. Goal is what needs to be accomplished and you use your physical powers. All right, so I looked over everything you guys did. I thought the planning techniques looked great. How did you feel about using them? Any issues with your planning techniques that you used? It was very good, okay? Did any of you notice going from having a set outline to the bodybuilding that it was easier to write your paragraphs than maybe in the past when you have?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, some of you in the past, this outlining thing is like, what, I've been doing this. And then others of you, your pre-plans and your pre-writes that you've sent me have been, like maybe 3 to 5 words, okay, all right. So you probably felt the difference if you were in that camp. So, all right. Did any of you find you have a favorite planning technique? Like, I don't need balloons, just give me the old Roman numeral 1AB. Absolutely? What about you, Bridget?
I like the traditional one too.
Okay, you like traditional as well? Okay, yes.
I mean, balloons or bubbles. Bubbles are good when you're like doing something not on a computer. But when you,
Right.
when I was using a computer, I did the traditional one because then I could be lazy and just like delete all the little headings and then have a bunch of instant sentences. Well,
Exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? The goal of having a writing comp class isn't to be miserable. It's to learn techniques.
Robert, Bridget, one of your siblings just threw up. I'm not sure.
Oh, does that mean you're leaving?
Yeah.
do you mind if we just?
Yeah, well, no, you're fine.
I need backup.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No,
Thank
thanks,
you.
man.
All right, and it was done very
Honor.
subtly.
Good job,
Thank you.
Brad.
One of your siblings
Time
just...
just comes in, I have grave news.
One
One of your siblings
How
out
did
there.
you evoke it?
All right, well, there we go, distractions. Speaking of distractions, Zach, I think I might have you maybe move over that way. If you would do that, please. That would be good. All right, God bless you guys. You can watch the video when you get home. Take care.
Take care.
All right.
Watch Connor enter it over and over again.
You can rewind and watch his entrance. All right, very good. So, while they are rearranging, we'll have some other rearranging. And what I'll have you guys do is please get out your green handout from last week. The week 14-15 assignment. I can't believe I'm taping this class.
Connor just comes in, I have grave news. One of your siblings is puking. He sounded like somebody who.
I thought somebody died. There's a gunman in the building.
It's like, I have grave news. You are all in grave peril.
You should do that at a hospital whenever there's something.
Yeah, just come,
Be good.
I have
They
great
need a
news.
higher counter.
Your brother has died.
All right, let's focus back in. On the assignment sheet, you'll see that I did list what was required for the first 2 steps. One thing I want to have you highlight is under bodybuilding. Each paragraph must be 6 to 7 sentences long. So you did have that information. I just want you to make that note. I did have this information. So that when you come back and you're making your whole enchilada and you realize, oh, both of my paragraphs have 13 sentences. This is kind of a bummer. I didn't just drop that on you, okay? So,
You just dropped.
I just,
I'm pretty sure I could highlighted it and paid attention.
oh, that's so good. All right.
Yeah.
Now you can grab your orange sheet. You can grab your orange sheet.
Which one of these is orange?
How about the one that says writer's right until it's right? So grab that worksheet. Okay. What we are on this morning, we have done steps 1 and step 2, round up the cattle and bodybuilding. So right now we're moving on to whole enchilada. And if you look on your assignment sheet, step 3, whole enchilada is worth 50 points.
It involves the word enchilada, so.
It should be good.
What do you expect?
Why do you think whole enchilada might be worth 50 points? Do you think this is going to be a minor part of your assignment, or do you think it might be a big part of the assignment? Big part of the assignment. Whole enchilada. By the time you are at this step, you have your tentative thesis statement and your tentative body paragraphs. It's time to put it all together into one tentative rough draft, which we like to call the whole enchilada. All right? So looking at your worksheet under whole enchilada, what is the focus in this step? What is the focus?
Requirements met. Think it.
Intro, conclusion.
Focus is hook.
We will actually be saying we have her at home, but
All right.
I will not be able to teach.
Okay. Very good.
Well, this has been a roller coaster.
They're back. We are on we're on whole enchilada.
Yeah.
You might not want to be thinking about that right now, but whole enchilada. And the focus of the whole enchilada is the hook and the introduction and the conclusion. Let's review right here. All right. What is the hook? What is the hook? What's the hook? Robert.
It's sort of like the opening line that pulls your reader along. Like, if you started with, like, say I was doing a paper on World War II, and I started with, well, World War II started when this guy was assassinated and there were a bunch of random treaties. Well,
Right.
that'd be super boring.
It'd be very boring. So the hook is going to be something that is,
It's something that's got, like, I don't know,
because something that's got oomph. Things that work well for that would be like questions, quotes, little stories, things like that. But does the hook only occur in the introduction?
no.
Nope.
No. We're in the conclusion. Yep, that's why it says hook, comma, intro/conclusion. Okay? So you're thinking hook, and that's going to come up in the intro and the conclusion. Did any of you read the article about the 4 temperaments that was you're asked to read for health?
Nope.
No one told me. What are you talking about?
We haven't had health in like 2 years.
Okay. I highly recommend that you read this because actually in just a few short weeks' time, this will be part of your writing assignment. I have to read to you the hook from the introduction and the conclusion from this article because I thought it was great. My mother pegged me at a very young age. I remember walking into her bedroom as she put down the book Transformed Temperaments by Tim LaHaye and smiled at 12-year-old me. You, she said with certainty, are melancholic. Then she goes through pages of description of the temperaments, how it fits in your spiritual life and your everyday life. What is the last sentence of her conclusion? And that is a goal this melancholic will chase to the end. So do you see how she did that? She took melancholic as your lead-in, as your hook, by giving you the little story, and then at the end she reflected back to it just by using the phrase, and this melancholic we'll do whatever that phrase said.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
that's what you're thinking of when it says hook, intro, conclusion. How can I get my reader to want to read this article, and how am I going to keep them engaged at the end? All right. Let's see. Let's look at the score sheet. No, we're not going to look at the score sheet. No, change my mind on that. Because I just want to think. And the focus. Apparently I'm having trouble doing that myself right now. Introduction, conclusion. I had one more sample to read. That's right. Okay. Here's another sample intro conclusion where the hook comes back and is reflected. Think of the last commercial you watched. What was being sold? Amazing shoes, glamorous jewelry, tantalizing food? Ultimately, what was being advertised was happiness. Buy these shoes and be happy. Give her this ring and be happy. Eat this burger and be happy. However, the world's vision of happiness is flawed for several reasons because it excludes the one who can make us happy. Fast forward, now we're in the conclusion. Living in relationship with the one who is love itself fills the human heart with joy. This joy is infinite, unlike the things the world offers. So the next time a commercial tempts you to buy into worldly happiness, remember the happiness God gives is free, always available, and lasts forever. Okay? So the commercial aspect, the buying aspect, that was part of the hook, and then reflected into the conclusion. All right, now we're going to take a look at our score sheets. Our focus, you're welcome. Our focus is intro and conclusion in the whole enchilada, excuse me. So just so you have an idea of what you have to do, let's take a look. For the introductory paragraph, you need to have a hook, you need to have transition, you need to have your thesis statement, and your paragraph is how long?
3 to 4 sentences.
3 to 4 sentences. I don't need a whole book because we're not writing that long of essays yet.
Yeah.
Take a look at the conclusion. What do you see there? Summarize main ideas, revisit thesis, reflect hook. Paragraph is how long?
3 to 4.
3 to 4 sentences, okay? You guys weren't here. Last week's assignment, I was showing them that it did say, I didn't drop this on you this morning, it did say in there that the body paragraph should be 6 to 7 sentences long. So if yours is longer, you'll need to do some editing. Okay? Keep this score sheet handy as you're progressing through the whole enchilada, and particularly once we get to tighten your belt and Cedo, alterum.
What are you implying?
Okay, so we're back. After that little thing, we are back to whole enchilada. Focus was hook, intro, and conclusion. What is the goal under whole enchilada?
The goal is
Robert.
create tentative rough draft.
Create a tentative rough draft. Okay, just as a reminder, what does tentative mean? Bridget?
Not necessarily finished rough.
Right. It is not necessarily finished, it is rough. Don't be so attached to your paper at this point that you don't want to change anything. It's tentative. Things can change. All right?
Attachments lead to the dark side.
Attachment leads to the dark side. Looking at step 3, whole enchilada, ladies and gentlemen,
Darth joke.
what do you see for the words plan, write, transform? What word is in the biggest font in step 3, whole enchilada? Plan, okay? Then write, and then transform. So what do you think you're doing for planning in this stage?
Planning the intro, conclusion, the hook, and the reflection.
Yep.
All
You're thinking, yes, you're doing a lot of active thinking. You're not sitting there waiting for it to just pour into your brain.
You're probably also planning how many enchiladas you can bring to class.
You might be, or you might be getting hungry. That could be. All right. So you're trying to figure out how to draw the reader in, why someone should want to read what you've written, and you're going to do the hook and intro first. Probably what you want to do is do your plan for the hook and intro. Start writing at that point. Get your intro written. You'll see writing isn't as big of font because you're only doing 3 to 4 sentences here, so this isn't like, putting the body paragraphs together, but you do still have some writing. I would get the introduction done, and then stop, plan for the conclusion. Some of you might find that, you know what, no, I can just get it all to flow into one. Others of you might need to just focus on an introduction, get that taken care of, go back to the planning phase, and then get your conclusion taken care of. Either way is okay. But the plan right in this part is thinking about the intro and the conclusion. What do you have in a conclusion, in your conclusion paragraph, in those 3 to 4 sentences? There are like 3 things you want to be thinking about. It's even on the score sheet if you're getting stuck.
The hook, the thesis, and summarize main ideas.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Probably in a different order. You probably want to summarize your main ideas and then go back to that thesis and then the hook. But it doesn't matter, just so those things are in there. All right. So then we have transform. How are you going to be transforming? It's very simple in this stage. Some of you may have already done it. What is your goal here? Oh, I'm sorry. That's not on there. Create tentative rough draft. I'm going to tell you. Create tentative rough draft means getting it into essay format. Okay, so if you haven't gotten your header up yet, if you haven't put title where the title is going to be, it doesn't mean you have to have the title yet, just put the word title. It's actually in format. It looks like that white handout that's in the page protector in the middle of your red folder. Okay, so that's your transforming there, is just getting it into essay format. The reason you want to keep it in rough draft format right now is that if you start doing editing and looking for really awesome words and doing all sorts of things, your head is just going to go poof, and you're going to get lost in the details. What you're trying to do right now is just get it down. Get it down. Some of you will tend to get lost in the details more than others, but that's really why I'm pushing you through, just to get it down, and then we'll come back. All right, so the whole enchilada is just that. You've put the whole thing together. You have gone from tentative body paragraphs, see if I can find my example. You've gone from tentative body paragraphs to a tentative essay, and I'll show you mine. You saw this last week, the bodybuilding, okay? This is what my tentative whole enchilada looks like. I came back through, and you can see I had my next phase of revising and editing, but I took it from the body paragraph, threw in my intro, my conclusion. I kept it in my same document. I just changed the format to double space and indented. That's all I'm asking of you guys. That's why you kept your document this week. Your 50 points bodybuilding. You kept it as is so that you can modify. All right, have any of you eaten a whole enchilada? Okay, Liam's probably eaten 2 or 3. I know you've eaten a whole calzone. I have witnessed that.
I don't believe I have.
All right. If you can imagine what an enchilada looks like and you ate the whole thing, how do you think you would feel after you do that?
Amazing.
Hungry, amazing, full, tired.
Depends the size.
I would want to nap afterwards.
Okay, you want to nap afterwards. That's kind of the same analogy. Once you do this, you get that intro conclusion, you've just put the whole thing together. It'd be really nice if you have planned out in your schedule that you can set it aside now for a day. Rest, go for a walk, hug your sister, do something. Do something to just take a break from the paper, okay? Digest what you just did. All right, any questions about the whole enchilada? Step 3. Okay, then we're moving right on to step 4, tighten your belt. Jacob, what is the focus in tighten your belt?
How does the paper flow and revise?
Okay, how does the paper flow and revise? What does revise mean? What does revise mean? I'll give you a hint. If you look at last week's lecture handout, it's right there. I don't know what I did with mine. I prefer that you read the definition off of there. It's your white lecture handout. Revise. What does revise mean? Zach, do you have it? I think you do, at the top. Transform, revise. Would you read what revise is?
Exercise is moving to the rack. Reading paragraph order. Most important about the beginning of the paper and at the end. Sentence order. Most important about the beginning and the end of the paragraph. Word order. Most important about the end of the sentence. So stop, basically.
Okay, very good. The other thing you're watching for is transition words to keep things flowing. The word flow should have you thinking of movement. How does the paper move? Is it choppy? Did you get the most important fact in the middle instead of either at the beginning or the end? Do you have transition words to help move the reader along? That's what you're thinking when you're thinking revise. I want to keep my paper moving. I don't want it to be choppy. What is your goal? Liam, what is your goal in step 4, tighten your belt?
To create a tentative final essay.
Okay, so now we're getting closer to the final deal. You want to make sure that your flow is good, that it's not sounding choppy. We have plan, write, transform. What is the biggest word here?
Transform.
Transform. Specifically, what are we thinking as far as transforming in this stage? Rough into more final, that would be your goal. But in transform, what are we thinking about with transform? What are we doing? Yep.
Revising.
Revising. Yep, we're thinking revise. Cut and paste. Transition words. And we saw the goal is the tentative final essay. Plan, write, transform. Okay. We covered all of that. Depending on the number of changes you've had to make, at this point you might want to take a break. Like if you had to really do some major restructuring, you might want to be able to set it aside again for a day. But if you blew through the revise and you're like, no, I think this thing sounds pretty good, then you can move right into step 5, which is Cedo, alterum, which means bring me another. The famous quote by Lucilius. What are we working on in this step? Cedo, alterum.
Details, requirements met, think, edit.
Okay, that's your focus. The details, the requirement, the think, edit. This is when you're pulling out that, you should be looking at your score sheet periodically to make sure you're on the right track. But this is when, guys, this is when you really need to be looking at it to make sure all of your requirements are met. You're looking at grammar, punctuation. You're getting out your magnifying glass. You're editing carefully, all right? So imagine yourself getting your stick and you're beating that paper to find any errors that might be in there. If you don't have a willing teacher, you do, but if you don't have a willing teacher in the future, you want to grab a trusted writer to read over your paper to look for edit errors. If that's a weakness for you, if you can pay somebody, find somebody to check your paper for edits, that's a great thing to do.
Can I grab
Right.
Jacob for that?
Yeah, Jacob will say, it's
I'm
fine.
really good at revising papers.
You'd be surprised, some of this may come out. One of my daughters in particular, she made a fair amount of money during college because word got around pretty quickly that she was a good writer. And so people paid her to look over their papers. And she would tell me, Mom, I can't believe how many kids can't write. They can't even complete sentences, and these are college students.
You know someone who's a millionaire now, that's what his job is, to help kids in college, like write their papers.
Does he just write their papers, or does he help them write their papers?
I've had to write the
But when he
papers.
was in college, he was helping them, and then he's like, oh, this would be a good job, and now, well, he's retired now, but
That's awesome. Yes, people are looking for help. So if you get really good at this, this may be a way to supplement your income. I want you all to get in the habit of reading your work carefully. Don't always rely on me to catch all the errors, because I don't always, and I won't always be there for you.
No.
So I know it's true. What might be a good idea at this point is to print off your tentative essay and take a look at it. I know for myself, I don't catch my errors nearly as well when it's on the screen, but when I print it off and I have the page in hand, I catch more errors. And I've actually noticed that with some of the papers that you guys have handed in. I know that I gave you feedback, and I was looking at my laptop when I gave you feedback, and then I'll see the final version in print, and I'll be like, oh, that's a comma error, oops. and I'll go back, and sure enough, I missed it too. So, print them off and look over it. You'll see in my example here of tightening my belt and Cedo alterum, you know, it was the thing, I printed it off. Where did I find errors? Where did things sound choppy? And by the time I got to Cedo alterum, it was just 2 little edit errors. Is this all making sense? You're like, yep, I get this, step by step. All right. Then we're to the final step. You've printed it off. You have your tentative final paper in hand. You're at Huzzah. What is the focus in Huzzah? The final step. What's the focus? Benny, do you know what the focus is in Huzzah?
How does the paper sound? Think proofread.
Yes, how does the paper sound? Sometimes when you hear your paper read to you, you'll be like, whoa, you know, I didn't realize that that's what it was gonna be like. Or you read your paper aloud to someone and you're like, oh, I guess I skipped a sentence. I knew in my head that I wanted it there, but I never actually did it. Yes?
This is just something that I've found useful. I know it's kind of a cheat, but like if anyone in this room uses Microsoft Word, it is a function that's called read aloud, where it basically just reads the paper to you. And why you think it, and it sounds a tiny bit choppy since it's a computer.
Yeah.
But it actually helps me really refine the flow sometimes.
That's awesome. You use that too? I didn't know it was there. I can hardly wait to go home because that's what I use.
There's just a little there's a little search engine up there. They just type in read aloud, and then it should
Okay.
have
Well, there you go. You don't even have to bribe your sister to listen to you. You can just listen to yourself. Although I do think it's a good idea to have somebody else read it, because the computer probably won't put in all the feeling and the emotion.
Oh, yeah.
All that good stuff. All right. So at this point, the essay looks like the real deal. Someone is going to listen to you, or you are going to listen to the paper. And what is your goal at this point? Yes.
Final essay.
The final essay. Okay. Look at the font down here. Plan, write, transform. Are any of those very big?
No.
Why is that?
Because you won't have to do any work at all, period.
When you're getting to this stage of the game, if you have plan, write, and transform in really big letters, that means you probably didn't do a very good job on the first 5 steps. By the time you get to 6, this is like your victory lap. You're feeling it. You're just about there. You're reading through it. As it gets read through, if you notice any little spots, note those, go back in, change them one last time, and then you're ready to either print it off or attach it to an email and send it to me. All right? And then you're ready to go. You're done. Any questions about Huzzah? The enthusiasm is contagious. I can tell you guys are just like so excited to implement this.
45 minutes ago,
Woo!
I am exhausted.
Okay, just take a general glance now after we have spoken about all the things on this worksheet. Do you see how it all comes together? In the past, what we've done is instead of step 1 would have been the pre-write. It's just that now I'm asking the pre-write to be done more organized. Bodybuilding, whole enchilada, that would have been your rough draft. Tighten your belt, Cedo alterum, that was when you sent that to me. And then Huzzah was when I sent it back and you made the final changes. Okay? The difference now is you're not going to necessarily have me every step of the way. I'm going to have you be doing more of your assignment on your own, although you may still get points for it.
Yay.
All right, so don't lose this handout, very important. Let's come back now to the green handout, the week 14-15 assignment handout. Yep. Okay, all of you, pretty much, have met step 1 and step 2. So you're now into the step 3, 4, 5 final step phase, okay? This is going to be due next week, the final paper. Allow 1 to 2 days for stage 3, and then 1 day each for the others. Now, steps 4 and 5 and final step, I have that broken into 20 points and 30 points. Not really. That's just the,
It's 50 points.
It's 50 points in the score sheet. That's really reflected in the score sheet, because that's the stuff you're working on there. It's just making sure you have that. Okay? Look that over carefully. Do you have any questions? How long do you allow for feedback from Mrs. McDonald?
24 hours.
24 hours. It looks to me like I don't have that 48 hours over the weekend thing on there. Oops. It can go a little longer over the weekend. I don't look at anything on Sunday.
I would say that probably the average response is probably within 12 hours, but you know.
Don't push me too hard. So make sure that you are allowing for that time as you're going through the rest of the essay. Wow, got through a lot of information. Do you guys have any questions about what you need to do before we meet next week? Okay. I will suggest strongly to you that you stay with this. Don't start slipping and getting behind, because next week when we meet, although we will be playing a game, you will be getting your next 5-paragraph assignment. So we're going to be rolling right in from one to the next to the next. We're doing a lot more writing this semester. Okay? All right. Are we actually done a few minutes early? I think that's got to be a first.
All right, time to go.
Wow. I guess we've got it going today. That's good.